get rolling.
We're all set to start.
Great, thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Finance and Claims Committee of the Common Council for today, Thursday, April 11th, 2024 at 7:01 p.m. First item on the agenda is after the call to order is the roll call. Councilmember Jim Freyer.
Here.
Councilmember Melissa Murray.
Here.
Councilmember Doug Sutton.
Present.
Councilmember Heather Dunn.
Yes.
And Councilmember Greg Burnett. So we have a quorum. And we will now move on to the next item on the agenda is public participation. We did not receive any emails prior to the meeting. If anyone wishes to speak under public participation, if they can raise their hand electronically, and we will allow them 3 minutes to provide their commentary. I see we have 2 attendees. If either the 2 attendees wish to speak during public participation, once again, raise your hand electronically and we will unmute you to allow you 3 minutes of commentary. Okay, I do not see any hands going up, so I will move forward and we'll close public participation and move on to item 4, which is approval of the minutes of the following Finance Committee meeting, March 14th, 2024, which was our regular meeting. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes as presented? Councilmember Melissa Murray, thank you. Do we have any additions, deletions, or changes to those minutes? Okay, hearing, seeing none. All in favor of approving the minutes as presented, show by an electronic raise of hand. Okay, it's unanimous. Thank you. We will now move to item 5, which is the tax assessor report. We have Paul Gorman on the meeting to provide an update from the tax assessor's office. Paul? Hello, Paul. Are you there? Paul, are you there? We see you, but not hearing anything. Okay, we will come back to Paul. We'll move forward in the agenda, which is items 6, 7, and 8. And for a tax report from the tax collector's office. So over to you, Lisa B. And Lisa, before you start, let the record show that Johan Lopez from the Finance Committee has joined the call. Okay, Lisa, over to you.
Thank you. All is well. You can hear me?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. Thank you. The first item that I would like to present is the claims report. And this month on page 14 in your packet, you will see that there are 2 items that are special request because of the dollar amount in excess of $10,000. One was just an erroneous payment, but it is a high dollar amount. The other is a series of payments that total $15,000 plus in leased vehicle taxes. That report, Vault Trust, that is a motor vehicle leasing company. So the aggregate of a number of refunds are in excess of $10,000. So accordingly, we would need the committee to vote to approve that and send it to the full council if you so choose.
Thank you, Lisa. And the 18,000, that was, what was that one for?
It was a payment that was made erroneously by the taxpayer's escrow agent.
No problem.
We have to give it back.
Okay, great. So, because as Lisa stated, there's two items under the claims report that are over $10,000. So do we have a motion to approve the Claims Committee report for April 2024 as presented? And I see, Melissa, do you have a question or are you raising your hand electronically for the motion? You're muted.
Oh, just the motion.
Okay, thank you. So we have a motion from Councilmember Melissa Murray. Does anyone have any questions? Hearing, seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor show by a raise of hand. And it is unanimous. Thank you. So this will move forward to the next Common Council meeting for final review and approval, which will take place on Tuesday, April 23rd.
Thank you. The next two items are my monthly report for the month of March 2024 and our narrative that accompanies it, which is dated April 5th. And you can see from these reports, our current collection is 97.61% of our adjusted levy, which is right where we need to be as of the end of March. With regard to past due taxes, delinquent taxes, we're ahead of where we were last year. And the narrative explains part of that is because of the work on the tax sale. And actually, since I wrote this narrative on April 5th, the amount that we've collected towards the tax sale, in the narrative, it's listed as 2.4 million. It's now nearly 2.7 million. And that was with just initial letters going out. We won't send our official notices out until probably May or June, because the sale is September 9th. But we are working toward a goal of between $4.5 and $5 million, which is what the budget office told us they would like to have us bring in 2025. Everything else that we're supposed to be doing at this time of year, we're doing. Delinquent notices were sent, demand notices were sent in February and in March. And earlier this month, we did file our lien continuing certificates. So we're on schedule for that. There's a number of other things we need to do before we end our fiscal year. And we're working on that, but we're also looking forward to the new billing. So there's a lot that needs to be done, particularly with the phase-in coming up, and other adjustments and things that need to be made before those bills go out. But our hope this year is to get the bills out when we normally do, which is the middle of June, between the 10th and 15th of June, so that we can spread our collection period out over 6 to 7 weeks rather than condensing it into 4 weeks, which is what happened last year. Was a very difficult year. We had a number of issues. We had a computer conversion and so forth. So we're hoping to have a better handle on it this year. And I'm very glad to answer any questions that you have about either report or about the tax sale or anything else that we're doing at this time.
Councilmember Johan Lopez.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Lisa. Lisa, quick question. How significant is that 3.9 reduction? Does that shortfall really have any impact on operations or any sort of financial planning?
As I understand it, the budget office in the prior budget year does make an allowance for these adjustments because of court cases. Those are reductions that's money that we collected, but we had to give back either in the form of a credit or in the form of a refund because of individuals who appealed their property tax assessments over a number of years. So our last revaluation was that 2018 grand list. And some of these cases have been in court for 3 or 4 or even up to 5 years. Once the cases are adjudicated over time, those appeals are all being settled, as particularly now. And a lot of them did hit in this particular fiscal year. So I'm tracking our net collections, and that's why you're seeing that on the report. but we do meet our budgeted collection goals. And as I understand it, they do budget and they do make an allowance because they know, based on what the assessor's office and what the CFO and the budget office discuss prior to the setting of the mill rate and so forth, they know that these appeals are going to be settled and they do make an allowance for it. And I think somebody else might chime in on this as well.
Yeah, I can't add too much to it, but just to confirm that that's in fact what we do. We do make an allowance for that within the budget to account for both appeals, the impact of appeals as well as court settlements. I plan on diving in a little bit more to just to observe the methodology that's used. It's definitely not an exact science. We don't know when cases are going to settle or how much, what the result is going to be. So we can only look at past history and try to develop some kind of model based off of that.
Got it. Thank you, Jerry. Thank you, Lisa.
You're welcome.
One question, Lisa, you talked about the experience last year with getting the tax bills out. Are you seeing a level of stabilization now with the new software that we're using? Have we kind of worked out a lot of the growing pains, or are we still seeing glitches here and there?
There's still glitches here and there, but it's not our first time through it. It's going to be our second time with an initial billing, and with each billing, it becomes easier. So it's not going to be what it was last year by any stretch. The issue this year will be ensuring that we get everything we need on time from the assessor, with regard not only to the phase-in, but also, if you remember, because of what did happen last year with the motor vehicle accounts, we do have some taxpayers who are getting credits that were carried over when they had already made their payments and then they received an adjusted bill. All of that has to be accounted for. So we're going to be working with the software company and with the office of the assessor. There has to be time to get it right the first time. We don't want to have it goes out wrong and then we have to fix it. It needs to go out right the first time. To avoid what happened last time. But your question with regard to the software, it is definitely getting better.
Great. Okay, any other comments or questions for our tax collector? We're getting very close to 98% collection rate. 99 is the goal. No pressure, Lisa, no pressure.
Okay. We're trying.
All right.
We're doing
Okay.
we're doing everything we can. I'll tell you that. I mean, the sale is going to bring in money, but I'm hoping most of it comes in actually next year because that was the plan, to help offset, mill rate increases for 2025. So it's a difficult balance, but money is money and it's coming in. So that's the good news.
So it's always a sure thing with you, Lisa.
Don't build me up too much. I have a new CFO.
That's all right. Your reputation precedes yourself.
Thank you. Much
Great.
obliged. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Burnett.
Yes, sir.
I may for a second. I did talk to Paul Gorman. I don't know if he's on by now or not, but
I do see him
there he
there.
is. Okay. Great.
Okay, great. Okay, so we've completed items 6, 7, and 8. So we'll go back to item 5, which is the update from the tax assessor. Paul?
Good evening, everybody. Sorry I was late. I was just having connection problems and had a hard time getting in. So in the assessor's office, like Lisa, we're getting geared up and getting ready to implement the phase-in once everything is finalized and we have mill rates. We're also getting all the I's dotted and T's crossed so that we can get that information to Lisa in a timely fashion so that she can hit her goals for getting the bills out. We're in the middle of the application period for the elderly homeowners, and that's going smoothly. The person on my staff who's chiefly responsible for that, is up to date with all the applications that have come in so far. So that all the seniors will be getting letters this year to let them know what their result of their application was. The other major thrust that we have going on right now is the Board of Assessment Appeals, which is in the second week of its 3-week run. And I have some statistics for you. I just have to flip to my email for a second. And give me 1 second, please. So we had a total of 747 applications for appeals. 3 of those were for motor vehicle, 3 were for personal property, 557 residential, and 184 commercial. Out of the commercial, there were 99 that were denied for being valued above $2 million. So therefore, not being heard by the board, they were given automatic denial so that they could file to Superior Court. And that's what's going on in the assessor's office. If anybody has any questions, I'd be more than happy to answer them.
Quick question, Paul. What is the deadline for the senior, application to apply?
May 15th, unless you've applied for an extension on your income taxes. If you've applied for an extension on your income taxes, you could apply to OPM at the state, and OPM can give you an extension. I believe it's till August 15th to get your information into us for approval.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Jim Fryer.
Paul, is that, what's the process for obtaining an application? Just call your office?
Yeah, just call our office. They're also available online on our website under our form section. But yeah, if you just
Okay.
call the office and ask for Maria, if Maria's not there, then anybody else in the office can email over a copy of the application and the instructions.
And what's the criteria for it again?
The max income for being on the town program is 76,500. The max for being on the state program is 53,400, I believe.
Okay,
And then it's layered from there going down. The town program is 76.5 down to 62.1, below 62.1 to the 53.4 is the second tier. And then below 53, you get both the state and the local.
and, okay. And I expect that all the criteria and everything are on the website as well?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Okay, good. Any additional comments or questions for the tax assessor? Lisa, you have your hand up? Yes.
I just wanted to remind the committee that we did send a pamphlet with the December billing to Norwalk homeowners and taxpayers concerning the elderly program, and that did help a lot in getting the word out. It did have the income limits in it. And we did that. There's some new members on the committee, but we did that at the request of the prior Finance and Claims Committee in the fall.
Yes, thanks for reminding us of that. That was a great addition to the process. And it's bringing the information right to the doorstep of all Norwalk taxpayers about the elderly tax relief program. So thank you for that. Yes. Okay, if there's no other questions, thank you, Paul, for the update. And
All right, we'll see you guys next month. Thank you very much.
great, thank you. Okay, that moves us now to item number 9, which is to receive the Oak Hills Park Authority monthly financial statements for February 2024. And we have Denise Brown from Oak Hills Park Authority to provide us with the update. Good evening.
Good evening, everybody. So for the February financials, I mean, February is going into the end of our very slow season. So the golf revenue, the cart rounds, everything is performing a little above what we had budgeted, but our expenses are also a little bit above what we had budgeted. It's more of a timing issue of things that had to get paid out in February we'll be catching up with that in March. But, you know, basically everything was on the quiet side, but we did not have to use any of our capital reserves or go into any of our investment accounts. So we were able to kind of just get by with the operating money that we had in the operating account. As of this February to last February, we have paid the city debt down $127,000. And the restaurant itself, it's slightly delayed. We're hoping that it will open in May, the beginning of May. But the halfway house is open, and that's serving the golfers right now that come through with sandwiches and light beverages and, you know, things to keep the golfers a little bit happier right now, so that there's something for them. Let's see. We're going to be starting our budget process come April and May, so that we have our budgets going forward for the 24-25 year. And kind of that's kind of it for the February financials. On a separate little bit of a note, the tennis center applied for a USDA grant, and we did receive the grant. We got confirmation this week, and that grant's going to go, it's $23,750. That grant is meeting 50% for us to install all new fencing and gates and poles around the courts there for courts 1 through 6. And the balance of the money, which we have already raised, which is in our supporters account, will meet the other 50%. And so we plan to do the project probably late October, because our season for the tennis courts will start to open around May 13th. So we don't have enough time currently, but that is a project that we're looking forward to in October. And that's it for the moment. Does anybody have any questions?
Councilmember Jim Freya?
Yes, thank you, Denise. Is there any particular reason for the slow opening of the restaurant? I thought they were going to be doing a soft opening in April.
Yes, they're just waiting for the finalization of the liquor permit. So they've just decided to kind of wait until the permit was finalized, so that they could open, you know, with full service instead of just offering food.
Was that unexpected, or did they?
Well, we were hoping, I think because of just a little bit of the delay was maybe just because of the state of Connecticut they had some questions, and so we had to kind of the restaurant had to just kind of finalize some of the questions, and they just decided that it would be better to wait until the beginning of May to have the operation open.
Just raises some questions in my mind. You know, a new vendor and not coming out of the blocks real strong. But if it's not their fault, I guess I'll have to give them the benefit of the doubt.
Well, I mean, we're very pleased with the way that they have followed up and the way they're handling the restaurant itself, and how they've, you know, met all the requirements with the health department, how they got everything up and running. Everything is actually going smoothly every other place. It's just that they're waiting for that. And so I don't see any problems. We're not alarmed in any way. You know, unfortunately, sometimes these things do happen where you have a little bit of a delay. I mean, that was their projection, April 1st. But we should, you know, they might even open up in another week or two, but we would probably safely project May 1st.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Denise. One question on the tennis grant. Is this the first time receiving a grant of this nature for the tennis center, or?
We applied for a grant last fall with the Connecticut USDA, and we did receive $5,000, and that went for funding our youth program that we offered in September. We were, you know, reduced our prices so that we could have more children have accessible for the learning of the tennis program. So this one for the USTA has come from the national USTA. And it is the first grant that we applied for. It took a couple of months to kind of nurture it along, and we just got the confirmation this week that we received it. So we're really excited about that. Plus that we raised the other 50%, and we're ready to go. We just have to wait for the right time.
Great.
Yeah, thank you.
Good to know that we're trying to find alternate sources of revenue by applying for these grants. So that's great. And the fact that we received it, hopefully that'll give us some motivation to apply for additional grants.
Yeah, and the information all went to the city and they approved it all. So everything is all, taken care of on the city end too. So we're very happy with all that.
Great. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Is there any update on the naming of the for Art Goldblatt?
We're currently working on trying to figure out how we would like to present, or really not to present. We're trying to figure out how we're going to have, if it's going to be on a stone, on a plaque, where we're going to put it. So we've kind of run into a little bit of not a snag, but we just are trying to all get on the same page of how we would like it to be. We thought of maybe putting it in a stone and placing the stone in the patio. And then there's the thought of possibly putting it on a plaque and hanging it up on the wall. So we're just kind of going back and forth, trying to figure out the best way to present it. And then we did reach out to Art's family, and they're going, they're happy that this is moving along. It's just taking a little more time than we anticipated. So we hope to have that completed by late May at the latest, and have it all set and have a little memorial for him.
Great. Thank you for that update. Are there any more other questions or comments for Oak Hills?
No, but Greg, I just wanted to let you know that I'm on a call.
Yes, thank you. Let the minutes reflect that Councilmember Dewan Wiggins has joined the call. All right, great. Thank you, Denise, for the update and the good news about the grant. And we will look forward to further update in May.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, moving on to item 10. And this is an authorization, which I will read. Authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to execute the grant assignment certification SFY 2024, assigning State of Connecticut 13B-38BB Elderly and Disabled Demand Responsive Municipal Grant Program appropriated funds to operation of Transportation Services Coordinating Entity, Norwalk Transit District. City match $390,000 and account number is noted. Do we have a motion on this item? Councilmember Johan Lopez, thank you. So this is a grant from the city to support the efforts at the senior center through the Norwalk Transit District. And we have with us Matt Pence from the Norwalk Transit District and Anna Vivian Estrella from the Community Services Department to provide us the background and explanation on this authorization.
Sure. Thank you, Chairman. I'll jump in. So yeah, speaking of applying for grants, this is an annual process. The State Department of Transportation puts out what they call the Muni Grant. So Norwalk is eligible this year for $70,732. So we are the coordinating entity, the Norwalk Transit District, that either has to be a transit district or a regional council of governments. We do this every year. We apply for the grant. The grant application deadline is May 15th. So I pretty much pulled together all the information and we apply for it on behalf of the Senior Center and Elder House. So we are just looking for authorization to apply for the funds, and they're matching funds. So they match, the 50% portion that either Elder House or the Senior Center will pay for eligible operating expenses. And just to finish that, it's for, you know, transportation services for elderly and disabled residents in Norwalk.
Great. Thank you for that narrative. Anna Vivian, did you have anything you wanted to add to that?
Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting myself. So I'm just here representing the match that's going to the senior center. So that's the 390,000 that goes to the senior center on an annual basis. And Lawanda provided a letter indicating such. And so we continue to hope to provide that money and support the Norwalk Transit applying for this very valuable grant.
Great. Thank you. Councilmember Melissa Murray.
Hi, it's nice to see you both. Just can I have a little bit more background as a new council person about the program? I know Mr. Pence worked with him a little bit about transit, but I just don't know how this works. So we are providing transportation services to the senior center. Can you be more specific in how that works?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's largely, so the senior center and Elder House will provide the service, and it's an extra funding stream for them.
Okay.
In the past, it was split between the senior center, Elder House, and Star. Star no longer needs the funding, from what I understand. So it's being split between Elder House and the senior center. But yeah, if you look at just the senior center, for example, they'll provide trips, and if it meets eligibility, they'll then invoice us, and we're just the intermediary. We'll bill the state. But many municipalities are eligible, but it's mostly just, you know, the eligible senior centers providing the service and us working to get the grant funding to help them with, you know, with their funding.
Got it. I better understand now. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
Great. Any other questions or comments related to this authorization? Okay, seeing none, I'll call for the question. All those in favor of this authorization show by a raise of hand. And it is unanimous. Hold on, Heather, are you voting? Okay, I'm not seeing anything, so we'll move forward, unanimous. And this item will, I think that's a positive vote, great. So we'll move this item to the full council on Tuesday, April 23rd for final council review and approval.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it, everybody.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Anna Vivian. Great. Okay, this moves us now to item 11 on the agenda, which is the purchasing agent report on approved contract listing. And we have our purchasing agent, Sharon Connors, on to provide us with an update. You might recall that as a result of the revisions in the charter, items, and correct me, Sharon, items over
25,000
right, would not require to come through the finance committee or the common council for approval.
correct, up to 100K. Anything that's over 100K would have to go before the respective common council committee and common council for authorization. There are 3 caveats. First caveat is any sort of grant application still has to go common council. The other one is single source or sole source, and that threshold is 20K or greater would have to go to common council, or obligations that are greater than a year. So good example would be like a multi-year contract. So in the report that I provided to the Finance and Claims Committee, these are the projects that would have been presented to the respective common council committee and common councils prior to the charter change. So there's a few solicitations that the purchasing department did publicly, and then there's a few projects that were documented through a non-competitive procurement form. We have a form for the exceptions where I would say majority of them are purchases through cooperative purchasing association. So they have met the bidding requirements through their programs. So we like to document those type of expenditures. So I guess the question for the Finance and Claims Committee is, do you have any questions?
Right. What we had, we put this process in place in January, and we started off with kind of a goal of getting a quarterly update.
Mhm.
And if we feel that's not necessary, we might make it a biannual update. But this is the first time we're getting this update. So in your backup, you see the items, you see the explanation, you see the amount. So I'll open the floor for any questions or comments on this report. Is this enough information? It is for information only. Again, it's not an item for us to vote on, but we wanted to maintain some level of understanding and tracking of these contracts that are coming through. So this is the current format that we're using. Yes, Councilmember Jim Freya.
Thanks, Sharon.
Mhm.
I noticed that there was one item, I think it was for the Board of Ed for 99,800,000.
Yes. Those are, I don't have the supporting documentation in front of me, but I noted on the report, it was for teachers' computers.
I'm just curious. I always am very skeptical when I see a number that is so close to the threshold. Was there any discounts or anything that they got at the last minute, or is there another subsequent 5 computers that are coming down the road, or
So
is it just you
I would have to
understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I totally understand about the being suspect. I'm always suspect too. But in the supporting documentation, a quote was provided, and the quote was procured through Wally Computers, and it was through one of the cooperative associations called PEPM. And so even though it is $99,800, it is the quote did match the justification for it. So it just, we'll say coincidental.
Okay.
Okay. Councilmember Melissa Murray.
I have to say, I agree with Councilman Freyer. I totally have full faith in you, Ms. Connors, but that does seem really, really close. And so so remind me again. So the vendor put their projection together. It wasn't.
No, it was a quote provided by the vendor.
Okay.
I mean,
Okay.
was it, and I guess the other, now that I think about it a little bit more, was, and I looked at it just briefly, how many computers was it?
Again, I don't have it in front of me, but I can pull up the information after this meeting and send it to everybody after our meeting.
Actually, we have the Norwalk Public Schools Director of Information on to cover another item, but I think David Hopp might have the answer.
Yeah, good.
Yeah,
good
that would be
evening, everyone.
helpful.
It was for 200 exactly. We submitted for bids from Wally, I believe SHI Computers, and who's the third one? CDW. I think they were all pretty close. I think SHI was the only one over 100. The other two were just under, and this one being the most. I think the other one was 99,900 and something. I did know when we reached out, I didn't know when we reached out about the charter revision, actually, to be honest. I thought I was going to be coming to talk to you about it.
So it was, you said it was 200 computers?
Yes.
So that they're $499 each?
Somewhere around that. Again, I don't have the quotes in front of me.
And they're Chromebooks, right? So that actually sounds right. If, you know.
But these are teacher computers for the elementary school teachers,
Mm.
and they're actually Windows laptops.
Okay.
Okay.
I think Jim and myself as former financial professionals, we tend to pick up on those audit things. So, so I feel comfortable. Thank you for clarifying that.
Yeah, no problem.
Does anyone have any additional comments or questions relating to the format? Is there enough information there for everyone to have a comfort level that we know Sharon will definitely do a great job in tracking this? But is the information sufficient so that we can stay on top of these contracts that might be coming through that aren't going through the process through the committees on to the Common Council for review and approval?
I think as you can see, there's enough information to ask a question.
Okay,
So,
yep,
I can't, without getting overly, demanding, I think there's enough information to glean what it's all about.
great.
Okay.
I
I would-
agree. Sorry.
That's okay. I would like to recommend that we do this on a quarterly basis, at least the first year.
Okay,
So
great.
it's a manageable report.
Yeah.
Sounds good. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Sharon. And we will see you in a few months, if not sooner.
Thank you.
But thank you for the information.
No
Much
problem.
appreciated. Great.
Have a good evening, everybody.
Good night.
Okay, moving on to item 12 on the agenda, authorization, which reads as follows: authorize the mayor, Harry W. Rilling, to submit an application to the state of Connecticut for grant funds provided under the state of Connecticut's Local Capital Improvement Fund for Local Capital Improvement Program. The amount is $847,944.96. That's for the 2024 grant. This is the LoCEP grant. Do we have a motion on this item? Councilmember Doug Sutton, thank you. This is a grant that we receive every year from the state, and if my memory serves me well, I believe this number is fairly consistent with the grant amount that we have received in prior years, and we have our CFO Jared Smith to provide additional commentary on this authorization.
All right, thank you. And hello again. And yes, you're right, Mr. Burnett. This is it's a fairly consistent amount. It's what they refer to as a statutory formula grant. So it's an entitlement. It's not a competitive grant that we do have to apply for it and make sure that we're hitting all the touch points that the state requires. Like it has to be a project within the capital plan. My understanding is that Norwalk has traditionally used this funding for paving projects. Yeah, I don't know if you have any questions.
Yes, you are correct. In past budget requests, the dollars have been used for paving and infrastructure improvements. Any questions on this item? You can see in the backup all of the towns in the state of Connecticut and amounts that they receive. So some of the larger populated town cities have received a little bit more. The smaller populations have received less. So again, this is fairly consistent in terms of the amount that Norwalk has been receiving. If there's no other further questions, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving this authorization, show by raise of hand. And it is unanimous. Thank you. So we will move this item to the full council meeting on Tuesday, April 23rd for final review and approval.
Thank you.
Great. Okay, moving on to item 13, which is authorize the Norwalk Public Schools purchasing agent to issue purchase orders in accordance with the city procurement guidelines for hardware plus FortiCare Premium for an amount not to exceed $122,208.98, and the account numbers are noted. Do we have a motion on this item? Councilmember Jim Freya, thank you. And we have David Hop coming back to us, the Norwalk Public Schools Director of Technology, to provide narrative on this request to purchase the security. This is for security gateway and related software, I believe, but I'll let David over to you.
Thank you, Mr. Burnett. Good evening again, excuse me, council members. So yeah, about a year ago, we found out our current firewall appliances are going end of sale, which means in a few years they're going end of life. So we started reviewing, looking for replacements. We accelerated the process because just past July with our renewals, they increased over 25% for the current model we have. So we decided, I worked closely with the incumbent vendor, but couldn't come to a consensus to get us a new piece of equipment and still save some money. So we looked at other vendors and we came across Fortinet, which is in the same Gartner quadrant as Palo Alto, our incumbent. We looked at how much better it is than the current one, how much faster, how much more workload it can handle, and then what we're saving. And over 5 years or so, we would save close to $250,000 with the renewal costs being cheaper with the new vendor. So yeah, we're looking to get that in place and get these 2 firewalls replaced before our next renewal comes up for the incumbent. If there's any questions, happy to answer.
One question I did have, in looking at the backup, the numbers in the backup indicate that the total amount was $138,361.84, but that's not what this authorization is asking for. So why the difference?
The bid winner, the company was the lowest, which is the 122. They had included implementation services on the quote of about I have it right here. Give me 1 second. 19,765. So that's the difference. So we're not asking for the implementation costs, just the hardware pieces. That's why the quote's different than actually what we need. I just didn't have a new quote without that number on it when we submitted it to Sharon.
So this is a hardware only.
There is software that built into the quote, because that's the software that we run every year. We pay for in the renewals. So it's included with the first year. Yeah. Okay, great. Thank you. Any questions or comments on this authorization? Councilman Jim Freya.
Is this software and hardware consistent with a similar product that's used by the city?
So yes, the city, but both the city and us run firewalls. This is a different vendor than the city uses. The city uses the current vendor we are using that we're moving away from.
When is the city going to are they reaching their point where they're going to have to also adjust or purchase again or sign up again, subscribe again?
I wouldn't want to answer that. I would say we would have to speak to Joyce. I think she would have a better answer for you. I don't know exactly their specifics on when they purchase their hardware.
Okay, so have you had any conversations at all with them as to what their thoughts are, or?
Well, I did speak to Joyce to let her know what we were doing, how we're moving away from the platform that she's using. But I didn't really get an idea from her what they were thinking of doing moving forward.
So why are you moving away from it and they don't appear to be moving away from it? Or did she, is it, and I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but was there a conversation as to why they wouldn't be moving when you do, or?
Well, I do know that our firewall is definitely older than theirs. We purchased ours
Okay.
initially in, I think, 2018. I think theirs is only a couple of years old, so I don't know. So I just don't know the specifics of their model number and when they purchased it. Our reason for moving is because of our increase in costs and the unexpected increases in the renewal. You know, going from a certain amount and then having them increase it on us, 25%. It's just not, we can't get a guarantee out of them that they're not going to do that again to us. And I just don't want to keep having to battle with the company.
Is it, I really feel kind of reluctant to say, go ahead on this without a conversation with Joyce. Is that possible to have that and not jeopardize moving ahead on this?
We are on a timeline, so we'd have to get this completed before the end of June. That's why we're doing it now. I mean, like I said, we didn't have a long sit-down conversation, but Joyce we did understand what we were doing. I actually spoke to her earlier today about it a little bit too. So
yeah, no, I'm not trying to blame you for anything. I just think it's very prudent. I mean, it's just gone through a kind of an onerous budget process, and one of the things that came up was the subject of IT, and my idea is that we should be talking. The two IT departments should be talking very, very much together, and particularly when there's a purchase of hardware, software. Not that you have to buy the same stuff, but this might be a good reason why you would not buy the same product. And particularly if you're faced with a significant increase in the existing software product and hardware you're having, and that's what the city is using, we can probably expect that the city is going to go through the same process that you're going to go through.
No, understood.
Is it possible to get, so you have to do this by June, so we have another month or so that we could possibly get the results of some discussions that you might have with Joyce before we have to rule on this, or vote on this. I'm sorry, not rule.
I understand. I'm just reluctant. I would be happy to talk to Joyce. I'm just reluctant to push it off any longer. Just because it is a big project, moving between two different firewalls. There's a lot of rules and things we have to go through and check and test. I just don't want to push it too far. Yeah, I mean, if that's what's required, I'd be happy to talk to Joyce. I don't want to push off, but if that's what we could definitely do that.
I guess, Councilman Frey, I guess my question to you would be what would be the nature of discussion to hear the city? David and Joyce have spoken, but are you looking for some type of agreement between the two entities that this is the right direction to go, or
Yeah,
what are you looking
basically,
for the
yes.
outcome of the discussion?
That's precisely what I'm looking for, is that they both agree that this is something to go, this is the right direction to go, and that possibly maybe the city should be going in the same direction as the Board of Ed. And if there's some other some other information that Joyce can share with David, or David can share with Joyce, I think it's improvement. I think Ms. Murray seems to want to get into this conversation as well. So let me just defer to her for a second.
Yeah, I agree with you, Mr. Freyer. But I'm also understanding of the very heavy time burden that Mr. Hopp is under. But I do wonder, even just from the volume discount, we've been talking quite a bit from the city side about cybersecurity and, you know, even, you know, if there's there's an opportunity for us to get a volume discount by piggybacking on this contract, I think that's worth asking. We have been talking, you know, about trying to partner, and we've been really concerned about cybersecurity and upgrading these systems. So I think it's worth asking if there's a way to get that information sort of quickly to not hold Mr. Hop back, but I think it's worth following up on.
You know, let me make a suggestion, is that if we're going to bring this up to we're going to put this before the council on
April 23rd.
Thursday, April 23rd, which is just, it's a week from Thursday, right? No, it's next Thursday. A week
No,
from
it's
Thursday.
Tuesday.
A week from Tuesday. Then why not, and could you have a meeting with Joyce before the council meeting? So at least we'll have that information at that point.
Yeah, absolutely. That's not a problem at all.
So we can move it forward, but we'll have, you know, we'll make the comment that this was contingent upon a meeting going forward with Joyce and cover some of the points that Ms. Murray and I have brought up.
Mr. Burnett, just on a process question, because I feel like some of the members of our council who are very interested in cybersecurity, it might make it more efficient if there was a meeting that maybe included them, so they could also get some direct answers that I wouldn't have thought of to ask in this meeting. Is that possible or not something we would do?
Well, I think that provides a little more, a level of complexity, getting everyone together in such a short period of time to be part of that meeting. My suggestion is that we move forward with this authorization with the understanding that David and Joyce will have a discussion, and either one of them can report back to this committee the nature of their discussion and what they agree to or not agree to. And at least we will have that commentary before the Tuesday, April 23rd meeting that we can share with the entire council as background to this request.
Okay, thank you.
And I'd be happy to sit in on a meeting with David, you and Joyce, and maybe one of the other council members that were keen on cybersecurity.
Yeah, I'll reach out to Joyce in the morning. I'll just go see her. We're right above each other, and we'll set something up and we'll reach out to get that going, so we can get it done before. Absolutely.
Because I think with Councilman Chair Burnett, we've got to also be aware of we don't have too many council people, you know, in a meeting before then all of a sudden we have a quorum. It's got to be a public meeting.
Understood.
Great.
Appreciate your flexibility on that. Thank you, Mr. Hop.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Okay. Is there any additional questions or comments on this authorization? Hearing seen none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving this authorization, show by a raise of hand. And it's unanimous. Thank you. So,
Thank you, everyone. Have a great night.
Great. So Dave, before you go,
Thank you, Dave.
Yes, sir.
two items. One, we will move this to the full council for Tuesday, April 23rd for final review and approval. And then two, if you can provide a narrative on the discussion between Joyce and yourself that I can circulate to the finance committee so that before the council meeting, that would be appreciated.
Absolutely. Thank you again.
Okay, great.
Thank you, David.
Okay, the final item on the agenda, item 14, is the appointment of the auditors to audit fiscal year 2024. Just as background, as hopefully you read in the background information, we have a 5-year contract currently with Clifford Larson Allen LLP. This will be the 4th year of 5. And I will pass it to our CFO, Jared Smith, for any additional discussion.
Before we continue, I just want to update on that. It's actually our 5th year.
Ah,
Right.
okay, so this will be the 5th year of a 5-year contract. Yes, so we should definitely update the backup to reflect that.
Right, so FY 24 will be the last year, correct, Chitsime, that they will audit. And so this is to so that we meet a requirement of the state to file with the Office of Policy and Management, that we are in fact appointing a qualified auditor. And we're a little bit early, but we know who the auditor is going to be, and we know we have to make this filing. So we're thinking we get it done and get our required reporting done with the state and get it out of the way. So we will likely be going out to bid because the contract is ending. So we'll likely be going out to bid in the fall or so. It's not a great market for auditors who audit government entities. It's very tight, and in my experience, you don't get a lot of responses, but we'll do our best. And Norwalk has a good reputation and of providing good information to the auditors, and hopefully making their jobs a little easier, which may be helpful in attracting more companies.
Thank you, Jared. One question, Chisholm, in the authorization and based upon the backup, should we include in this authorization appointing the auditor the dollar amount and count number, because we know what that is. So I think that the actual authorization should read, authorize the appointment of auditors to audit fiscal year 2024 at a dollar amount of $103,000, and with the account number noted where that those dollars are coming out of.
Okay, I will add that to when we submit it to the Common Council agenda item.
Great, perfect. Any questions or comments on this authorization? Okay, great. I'll call for the question. All those in favor of approving continuing to work with Clifton Larson Allen, show by a raise of hand. And okay, it looks like it's unanimous. Very good, great. So again, we'll bring this forward to the full council on Tuesday, April 23rd for final review and approval.
Thank you again.
Great. That brings us to item 15, which is a motion to adjourn. Councilmember Melissa Murray could not put her hand up fast enough. Thank you. I appreciate that. All those in favor show by a raise of hand. And it's unanimous. Thank you. Thank you for your time and participation. And have a great rest of the Councilman Wiggins. Do you have a question?
No, I was adjourning. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Have a great rest of the evening. Take care, everyone.
Okay, thanks, sir. Thank you.